Hello everyone, welcome to the course. It is Independent Study of Knowledges, and today's session will continue with the topic moving from teacher dependency to learner autonomy, the importance of being autonomous. So there is an immense relationship between motivation and language learners. Without motivation, language learners will not acquire any knowledge, not only languages, but any interesting topics or any other knowledge. So they need flexible learning environment, and in this environment, they will easily learn anything required by their teachers. So moving to assessment for learning. Uh, Assessment for learning is the process of seeking and interpreting evidence for use by learners and their teachers to decide where the learners are in their learning, where they need to go, and how best to get there. So, we discuss assessment for learning, not assessment of learning. There are 5 key principles of assessment for learning. First one is the provision of effective feedback to pupils. Next one, the active involvement of pupils in their own learning. Next, adjusting teaching to take account of the results of assessment. And next one, a recognition of the profound influence assessment has on the motivation and self-esteem of pupils, both of which are crucial influences on learning. And last one, the need for pupils to be able to assess themselves and understand how to improve. Uh, Next stage is support materials for secondary teachers. They can be sharing learning objectives with pupils, helping pupils to know and recognize the standards they are aiming for, involving pupils in peer and self-assessment, providing feedback that leads pupils to recognizing their next steps and how to take them, and promoting confidence that every pupil can improve. Last one is involving both teacher and pupil in reviewing and reflecting on assessment information. Assessment for learning can be a formative assessment in action. For example, awareness of purpose, sharing learning objectives, sharing of criteria for success, and self-assessment and support for self-assessment, peer assessment, comment-only feedback, and error correction. Coming to autonomy and assessment for learning. Central to such a form of assessment is the pupil's own active involvement in the learning process through the development of metacognition. The power to oversee and steer one's own learning so that one can become a more committed, responsible, and effective learner. What is autonomy? It can be self-management. What is self-management itself? Here the aim is for learners to manage their own learning by planning what they wish to or need to achieve both short and long-term goals, making choices from a range of learning activities and resources about how they are going to achieve these, and monitoring and evaluating their progress. So, what is autonomy? Self-management. It is also self-regulation. What is self-regulation? The aim is to enhance the processes and outcomes of learning through awareness of their learning strategies, as well as ways of planning, monitoring, and evaluating their individual learning activities. And there are some metacognitive knowledge. They are person knowledge, task knowledge, strategic knowledge. They are very essential in learners' autonomy. Metacognitive knowledge. First, learner's voice speaking about the role of the learner, including themselves in language learning, specifically in terms of control over learning, the task, the nature and purpose of language learning, both generally and in their own experience, including how it relates to their own lives, the individual tasks involved in language learning, and how might this inform the ways in which they take control of their learning, and the strategies they use in order to learn, and how might this contribute to their learning. Accessing metacognitive knowledge through focused group conversations. Learners as experts in voicing their own understandings of learning. Focused group conversations, like in follows, support the articulation of what may be difficult constructs, rely on interaction within the group, have a spirit of openness, dynamism, and spontaneity, researcher as facilitator enjoyable, each focus group conversations with a different focus, 6 participants, 50-60 minutes. There are some activities. They are brainstormers, concept mapping, contextualize questions, think back to direct questions, projective techniques to stimulate the imagination and to allow unsafe opinions to be offered in a safe way, drawing, questionnaires, self-rating skills. Coming to person knowledge, the problem is the learner doesn't recognize that she or he can make a difference and expects the teacher to take responsibility for his or her progress, telling him or her what to do in order to improve. And task knowledge. There is a problem which learner has a specific target for improvement but doesn't know which type of resource will enable him or her to address it. And last one, strategic knowledge. The problem is that learner's target involves learning vocabulary for active use, but learner doesn't know how to get into my head. And strategic knowledge, the frustrated, where their strategies really differ from the sophisticated, however, is in the absence of self-monitoring and self-evaluating strategies. There is no sense of testing themselves in order to know whether the language has been internalized or not. Even when a reference is made to learning from mistakes, it's dependent on the teacher to correct the mistakes rather than on finding ways of identifying them themselves. Not because they believe that it is not their role, but because they sense their own lack of strategic knowledge in this aspect of learning. The group's frustration is fed then by their lack of strategies to enable them to do that which they value most highly. Strategies. What strategies? Strategies. First, practicing strategies. And there are some strategies that were used by at least one. They can be revising, working, speaking, writing. And the suggested ones, but not used, books, television, homework. And learners have to develop learning strategies through reflection and sharing. And teacher can offer opportunities to evaluate lessons, reflecting not only on what has been learned, but also how it has been learner participation, tasks, strategies, planning, and etc., and how they may learn better next time.